People have changed drastically over the last 5 years or so. Even though we are working harder, hustling more, and staying more connected, it still feels like everything is more stressful. People are more anxious and are really more lonely than ever before. If you think back just 10 years ago, it really does seem like we're living in a completely different world. And it's not just that time has changed, it is that the people have changed too. As I have traveled across the world and visited different places and cultures, I can see that it's not like this everywhere. Something has happened in the United States and other countries that is really, quite frankly, scary. This is a conversation that I think that we all desperately need to have, not just for ourselves, but for our children and our children's children. I'm gonna share my thoughts and my feelings on what's going on, but there's so much more to this conversation. So leave your experiences and your thoughts in the comments below. Humanity feels like it is on a cusp of a very deep change. And the good news is that we can steer that change in a good, positive direction. But in order to do that, we need to do it together. There's a very real reason why so many people are feeling the same thing. And once we see them clearly, we can regain that power and steer this ship in the direction that it should go. So I'm gonna break this down into 4 main root causes. The first one is that the system itself is breaking down. The system that we are living in was never designed in a way to make us happy or fulfilled. It was designed for profit, productivity, and to get as much work or output from us as possible. And as it strains under its own weight, we are feeling these consequences every single day. In a recent poll, 70% of workers say that they are disengaged from their jobs. Burnout is at record highs. 3 out of 5 employees are reporting that they are burnt out. We are working more hours than ever because our wages are not keeping up with the rising cost of housing, food, healthcare. And so all of that pressure is building on the everyday workers and making life a huge struggle. That is causing people to be burnt out, overworked, and just generally unhappy. Our schedules leave little room for our family, our friends, our community, ourselves. And all of this is weighing on us on an individual level. This system is not sustainable in the long run. The wealth gap is going to continue to grow, and it is going to put more pressure on people who do not have a massive amount of money. The wealthiest people are going to continue to grow wealthier, while the rest of us are being drained dry. And it's a good thing when systems that don't work collapse, because then we have the opportunity to build something better. That doesn't mean it's not going to be hard, but it does mean that there is hope for a better future. Root cause number 2 is the collapse of trust and connection. It is hard to ignore how divided our country has become. Politics, social media, the news, everything feels like us versus them, and it is exhausting. 86% of Americans feel drained by this division, and it goes beyond just politics. It is also a loss of connection and trust between other people. Mass shootings, school shootings, just violence in general. I don't need to name the specific examples, but there have been a lot, even recently. We see them on the news every single day, and there are way more that don't get reported because it's just so common. Something has happened with people, and this violence is like at an unprecedented level of just rage among people. And even on a smaller scale, I know most parents will not allow their kids to spend the night with anyone anymore because they don't trust other families to protect their kids and keep them safe. A lot of kids can't play outside anymore, not just because their parents are afraid that something bad might happen to them, but also that people in the neighborhood will call the police for their kids making noise outside, or come outside and harass their kids and complain because kids are playing outside. Or CPS might be called because kids are not being supervised, even kids that should be old enough to play outside by themselves. We've been living in this society where people don't like each other anymore and are not willing to accept like normal human behavior. And it's not like this everywhere. That is one of the big things that I have noticed as we've been traveling, is that there is still kids playing outside and riding bikes and, like being normal kids, like the childhood that we had when we were growing up. This is not happening all over the world. This is a problem that's happening in the US and some other countries. This constant fear disconnects us even more. When we don't trust each other, we stop engaging. And when we stop engaging, we retreat. We forget how to accept differences. This leaves us isolated. And from this isolation comes anxiety, depression, disconnection, the thing that we are already struggling with. Something that people are forgetting and not recognizing is that we all really want the same thing. We want love and belonging and purpose and safety. And we forget that the other side wants those things too. We are othering people, us versus them, and we are dehumanizing the people who are really just like us. Just we're being told and fed the lies that they're somehow different than we are and they want different things and they're our enemy. Which leads us to root cause number 3, which is social media in the attention economy. Think about how much time we spend on our phones and social media. The average adult spends over 7 hours on screens, and Gen Z is spending 9 hours on screens. So the younger generations are spending longer than the older generations. So Gen Z is at 9 hours a day. And for the average adult, of that time on screens, like about 2.5 hours is on specifically social media. So a lot of us are working on screens and we're emailing people and all of that. I work on a screen a lot of the time, but being on social media is mostly unproductive time. So I want to talk mostly about social media because I do think technology itself is very useful and can be used as a tool to help people. Jobs can be online, education, there's tons of educational opportunities online. I make money online. It is what allows me to live my life. I've learned a ton of stuff from YouTube. I've learned how to completely renovate houses and fix cars and build barns. And when we go traveling, I research all of that stuff, mostly on YouTube. Everything is done online. So there is a benefit there, but it's also a huge risk. And we have to be super aware of the harm that social media and just the internet is causing also. Those 2 hours that people are spending on social media, mostly unproductively, is 2 hours that you're not spending engaged in other activities. You're not hanging out with your family. You're not reading a book. You're not going out in nature and spending time outside. It's the opportunity cost that we don't always think about. We also need to just let our minds rest and not do anything for a minute. Like, so many people cannot even eat a meal without scrolling on their phone. Like, they cannot allow themselves to just be bored. They must be distracted all the time. I've seen people get on their phone and like literally every minute will just pull their phone out and check an app and see if anybody has messaged them. And that is just, it seems to me like such an anxious way to be. Companies have made it an addiction, and they know, they are very smart at that psychological trick. I mean, we have like the best experts that are designing these apps, and they're designed to keep you on there. They're not designed to spread truth or happiness or goodness, or they're not designed to help you. They are designed to get more views because that's where the money is. That is their goal, is to keep you on the platform, because you are not the customer to these platforms. You are the product being sold. Your attention is being sold to advertisers. So you're not even like a real person. You become not a real person. You're just attention. And that can be a really dangerous game to play. It's been long enough now that the kids that were first introduced to the iPhone as little kids are adults now. And when kids are being raised by a screen and they're not outside playing and engaging with their peers like they used to when we were kids, it really hinders their development. And during a time when play is so important and the kids are not playing like they used to, that's how kids learn. They learn through play. That's how they learn to regulate their emotions, how they learn resilience. And we have a whole generation of now adults that don't have these skills. Even if you are a parent who has chosen to not give your kids social media, what about their peers? Like, so many of their peers have access to these phones and social media and electronics. Who are they going to play with? They're going to play with those kids. And I'm telling you, it's not like this in other countries. There are entire countries that, you know, kids are playing outside after school all the time, like all day, and on the weekends they're outside, they're riding bikes, they're walking to the store and getting stuff, and they're just kids. They're the kids that we remember. And it's not just social media, it is just technology in general has been disconnecting us from real world interactions. People shop online instead of going to the mall. Where malls in Asia are booming, the malls in the US are disappearing. People stream movies from their house instead of going to a movie theater and being around other people. You order food and have it brought to your home instead of going out to a restaurant or going out and grabbing some food and having that social interaction. That's something else that we've really noticed as we've been traveling, is that other people are going to coffee shops and sitting down and interacting with each other and going out to dinner, and it's a social event. And to be fair, things in the United States, it is also a financial situation. People are not able to afford that. But if you can afford to order food and have it brought to your house, you can also afford to go out and eat with friends. People aren't doing that anymore. People are not having barbecues and potlucks. They are retreating into themselves more and more. There's a dopamine hit that happens with social media and just the current shows and apps and games that our kids and us adults now are exposed to. And this is something that like psychologists have researched and is intentional, is to get dopamine hits as we're watching stuff. And even like the little kid shows, we have a 3-year-old and we've noticed this with our 3-year-old. We have stopped like turning on current shows because they're so fast and they're so engaging. And the goal is to get dopamine, and having that constant dopamine hit is not good for your development. So we've been watching older shows like Little Bear, Winnie the Pooh. I used to watch this show when I was a kid called Shelley Duvall's Fairy Tale Theater. that we've watched. And those shows are so much slower, and it's not like this instant hook them at the very beginning and keep them engaged the whole time. But all of this results in a cycle where we keep ourselves plugged in and we think that we're more connected and informed, but we're actually getting drained and becoming more disconnected, more divided, and less present in our real lives. The more we rely on this convenience of technology, the less we are actually living our real life in a life that is meaningful to us. Root cause number 4 is a disconnection from nature and ourselves. This is one that I have become really passionate about. There is something else going on that is harder to put into words, but most people feel, and that is a disconnection from our natural world. And this isn't just about going and taking a walk outside. Nature is literally the key to our survival. It gives us everything that we need to sustain life. Our food, our water, the air we breathe, even the warmth that keeps us alive. And for years, humans understood this and their connection to the natural world. We lived close to it and we respected it. But today, most of us don't know where our food comes from. We don't know how to cook. We don't know how to stay warm without flipping a switch. We don't know how to navigate without GPS. Instead, we have handed over those most precious, life-sustaining things to corporations and businesses whose number one goal is for profit. And the question is that really a good idea? To trust for-profit companies with the very things that keep us alive? To me, it starts to feel a little insane. And on a deeper level, disconnecting from nature really disconnects us from ourselves. Because when we lose that connection, we forget how important the world is, like the physical world, and we also forget how important we are too. We forget that we are not separated from nature. We literally are nature. When we are able to reconnect with that, we begin to see a bigger picture of our place in this world, how important everything is and everything is connected, and we really begin to just have a bigger picture understanding, and it makes life a lot happier and a better place to be. 83% of Americans live in suburbs or cities and are away from wilderness, but spending just 20 minutes outside, it could just be in a park or on a porch, like looking at the sky. We all have access to the sun and the clouds and trees, grass, you name it, there is some sort of nature in your life. Birds flying by. Just 20 minutes outside in nature every day will significantly reduce your cortisol levels, which is our stress hormone. And our stress hormones are so high today. So if you are exhausted, anxious, and angry, that means that you are actually paying attention. The world that we have built isn't working, and yes, it is scary to watch it fall apart. But this is the painful part of growth. The old system has to die so that we can build a better one. One with more connection, more humanity, more balance. That's not just going to happen. We have to choose it and make it happen. I do think that things are going to get harder, because I know things are already hard for so many people. But the fact is that we have to hit rock bottom before we are going to be able to build ourselves back up. But let's all be part of the change for the better. Let's start working on ourselves and on our communities. Let's be more aware, more connected, and find more joy every day. Let's talk about some actionable steps that you can take today to move forward. Step 1 is to audit your digital diet. Really be aware of what you're consuming online and, delete social media apps from your phone if you need to. If you find yourself pulling up your phone and opening up social media when you really shouldn't be. If you're standing in line and you get bored and you pull out your phone because it's there, that is probably a problem, and you should be able to stand in line and wait and be patient for a few minutes without pulling your phone out. I don't have any social media on my phone. That is something that I have done within the last few months that has been very beneficial. Unfollow accounts that make you anxious or angry. Take one day a week completely offline and be very intentional. Ask yourself as you are consuming, is this helpful or is it just wasting my energy? Step 2, reconnect with nature. Get outside every single day, even if it's just 10 minutes. Go and sit outside in the morning to drink your coffee or have some tea before bed at night. Take a walk without your phone. If you can, take your shoes off and walk in the bare grass or on some sand. And you can really see how quickly your stress will begin to drop. You can also challenge yourself to learn a new survival skill that is nature related. So grow a plant, grow some herbs, even just in a pot. It doesn't have to be big. Like, learn to grow something and how that whole cycle works. You can learn to cook from scratch, how to navigate without GPS, how to start a fire outside. All of these things are really important skills to learn, even if you don't need them in your convenient, modern, everyday society. They still will connect you back to nature and will benefit you more than you realize. Reconnecting with nature isn't just about being calm, it's about building your confidence and remembering that you are capable, resilient, and part of something much bigger than yourself. Step 3, find real world communities, volunteer, talk to your neighbor, have a monthly potluck get together with your neighborhood or with your family. Challenge yourself to get to know people who are different than you, people who have different political opinions, different religious opinions, who have completely different careers or lifestyles, or completely different ages. Do not let media and politics convince you that it is us versus them, that the other side is wrong and bad and evil. Get to know these people, reconnect, and you will realize that we all want the same thing. It's a lot harder to hate someone when you're sitting across from them at a dinner table and you've had a conversation with them. Step 4 is reclaim your attention. Have slow mornings where you don't look at your phone for an hour. Schedule time when you are literally doing nothing, including not looking at your phone. Just go and sit down outside in a chair and relax for, even if it's just 10 minutes a day. Understand that you are not what you produce. You are not how much money you make. You are not how productive you are. You are good enough just being, and that just being is okay. It's really hard in our current hustle culture and productivity culture to not think that you're being lazy when you're not doing anything, but everyone needs to not do something, and it's valuable. Like, you don't have to be doing something all the time. Doing nothing is doing something. You're thinking. You got to let your brain think about stuff, because that's how you come up with all the best ideas. That's how people come up with the best ideas, forever and always. Step 5 is prepare for change. Learn to be adaptable. Understand that AI is going to drastically and dramatically change the future very soon, in some good ways and in some bad ways. And you are just going to have to learn to be adaptable and do things a little differently. So work on adaptability and change in your daily life. If you have been feeling anxious, disconnected, like you're the only one who feels this way in the world, you are not alone. I know that you feel like you're the only one who feels like you're wrestling with these thoughts, but I know that there are so many other people who are feeling the same way. I obviously am too. What is making it hard is the very thing that I've been talking about, is just the disconnection that we are all having. It makes us feel alone, and it's hard to understand how other people are having the same thoughts and feelings. And that's the irony. It makes us feel like we're in this alone when really we are all in this together. The division, the burnout, the overwhelm, they are all symptoms of the system that isn't working for us anymore. But once we understand that, we can start to work to make something better. Not by waiting for somebody else to fix it, but by making changes in our own lives. Reconnecting with nature, with each other, with ourselves. And that's how we take our lives back together.